Please subscribe to Burn It Down with Kim Brown. Again, shout out to everybody that has ran the channel support throughout the year. And don't stop now. Can't stop, won't stop. BIDWKB on all your cash platforms. Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. And join us if you could on patreon.com/BIDWKB. Sorry about that. My bad. All right. I want to move on to my next story because with a lot of breathlessness, mainstream American press has been covering so-called organized retail theft instances across the country as if it is America's greatest crime wave ever. Okay. We've seen the so-called smash and grab robberies. These motherfuckers running up in Macy's and Nordstrom's and Chanel and cleaning them niggas out. Also, not to be excluded here, CVS, Walgreens, everybody can get it, even fans in the stands, right? And the media has been covering this like it is breaking fucking news. There was an incident just here in DC a couple days ago at one of the fancy schmancy shopping destinations in downtown called City Center. Relatively new, maybe it's been open 10 years. I ain't never been in there because I probably can't afford shit in there. And it got a Chanel store, so I know I definitely ain't going in there. But the Chanel store got ran up in by about 4 or 5 people. One of the people discharged a fire extinguisher while the rest of them, grabbed as much Chanel shit as they could and ran out the store and hopped into a waiting vehicle and took off. And that has been one of the lead stories here in DC because, I guess surely there could be no other news of import happening in Washington, DC. So, but not just DC local media, but like local media wherever the fuck you are. So check this out. So past couple of months, the shit has kind of ramped up just a bit, right? With the National Retail Federation, which is basically the lobbying arm for retailers, national retailers, really making a plea to not only law enforcement, but now to Congress to do something. Can you do something about all the organized retail theft crime rings that are plaguing our industry? Can you please do something? So I want to show you guys a couple of packages. So the first package is from October, and it's going to be from KTLA. The second package is from November, 1 month ago. And it's going to be from NBC Washington. Now, the first package is going to talk about the testimony held on Capitol Hill from members of law enforcement and those representing the retail community about the extent, what they say is the soaring amount of losses that businesses are suffering. And then the second package we're going to see has to do with Congress's response, which included the introduction of a bill to target and combat organized retail theft that would involve the creation of a separate unit, I believe, within the Department of Homeland Security, right? Y'all, they want to add more federal police to combat organized retail theft, okay? But after we watch these packages, it turns out some of these numbers, maybe not quite as dramatic as advertised. So let's look at these two packages. First one from KTLA, the second going to be from NBC Washington. Let's take a look.
Now to growing demands for action to crack down on the increase in retail thefts across the nation. A House panel got an earful from fed-up retailers losing millions of dollars in revenue. They also strategized with law enforcement, including the FBI and Homeland Security, on how to stop the thieves. Across the U.S., organized theft groups are targeting businesses stealing $22 billion in goods just last year. Republican August Pfluger blamed the rise in retail theft on no bail and open border policies.
Large organizations of professional shoplifters or boosters are exploiting soft-on-crime policies to ransack American businesses and carry out an unprecedented spike in retail crime.
Every time a store is robbed of products, has to hire more security, replace broken windows, or install new security systems, some of those costs are inevitably going to be passed on to shoppers.
We work closely with
The committee adjourned without taking any action, but plans to meet again.
We've been telling you about a surge in retail thefts across the country and in our area. And today, the National Retail Federation is joining forces with congressional leaders to push passage of a law aimed at combating organized retail crimes. Juliana Valencia joins us live this morning with more on the new law that they're working to pass. Tell us all about it, Juliana.
Yeah, Millette, we had many lawmakers out here from both sides advocating for the Combating Organized Retail Crime Act. They talked about how retail theft is becoming more widespread and more violent.
These smash and grab incidents aren't specific to one area, but all over. The National Retail Federation, which was also here today, reports retailers lost more than $100 billion last year from loss of inventory due to incidents like theft or fraud, and that more than 67% of those retailers surveyed said they were seeing more violence and aggression from those stealing compared to a year ago.
And it's not only about the dollars involved here. It is about, in some cases, the tragic loss of life, the violence, the aggression that's playing out in these retail locations.
The Combating Organized Retail Crime Act would increase coordination between federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies by establishing a federal organized retail crime coordination center. The bill would also make changes to the U.S. Criminal Code to provide prosecutors with better enforcement tools to crack down on organized retail crime and differentiate them from shoplifting for personal use. Maryland Congressman Glenn Ivey is among those lawmakers in our area who support the bill.
With the federal involvement, the jurisdictional lines don't matter anymore because that's what they do. They have national presence and investigation powers, so that helps on that front. Plus, it can have stiffer penalties and bring more resources to bear. So they might be able to connect up information, for example, about a theft ring that's not only in Maryland, but maybe doing the same kinds of thefts up and down the East Coast.
And you know, this is a real problem in our area, Millette. Just in D.C., we recently had a giant grocery store close certain entrances and take some name brand products off store shelves to curb theft. And earlier this week, Mayor Bowser introduced a crime bill that would create new penalties on organized retail theft. Back to you.
Very scary stuff. Got to get a handle on all of it. Thank you so much, Juliana Valencia.
Got to get a handle on it. You got to get a handle from the criminal justice perspective. Got to get a handle by expanding the state law enforcement apparatus. You know, you can't get a handle on, let's say, poverty. Like you don't want to seem to get a handle on, let's say, homelessness. You don't want to seem to get a handle on low wages. You don't want to seem to get a handle on a lot of shit. But let the National Retail Federation get up in front of Congress and start crying. Oh, y'all ready to create whole new fucking units within the Department of Homeland Security. That congressman, that's my congressman. I don't like that motherfucker. That's Glenn Ivey. And I can't remember Glenn Ivey's background. This is his first time serving in Congress, but he's been in local Prince George's County politics for some time. And I can't recall, is Glenn Ivey former state's attorney? Do we got any PG people in the chat too? You got to tell me in the affirmative or the negative. Because you know I smoke a lot of marijuana. Sometimes I tend to forget things, but I'm pretty sure Glenn Ivey used to be a prosecutor. And even if he wasn't a prosecutor, he sure the fuck is talking like a cop and not talking like a legislator rather. And that kind of pisses me off a lot, right? Because as a legislator, it is your job to solve the problems of your constituents, to help address the needs of your constituents. If there is an increase in the amount of retail theft, organized or people doing it on their own by themselves, otherwise, that indicates a level of societal desperation. Their material needs are not being met in some way. Hence, they assume the risk of breaking the law and committing theft. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not opposed, and I've said this here before, I'm not opposed to people engaging in survival behaviors. I don't like to see people rob other people. Like, I don't like to see people get robbed. But if the store gets robbed, well, then fuck it, the store gets robbed. The store has insurance for that shit. Like, shit is put into place to protect businesses from those kinds of losses, right? But to me, retail theft, organized or just somebody doing it as a individual person, that just tells me that people are struggling. That tells me that people are hungry out here. That tells me that people may not have other options. Yeah, go get a job. Okay, I can get a fucking job. You can get a job where you can work 40, 50, 60 hours at that hourly job, hourly wage job, and it's still not going to cover the cost of the rent and the food and the transportation. Like, let's not act like shit is affordable out here. It absolutely is not. He was. Thank you, Kofi. Kofi. Do you hear this motherfucker, Kofi? You hear this motherfucker talking exactly like a cop and not like a congressman. Oh, well, so if we do this from the federal perspective, it will eliminate all the state border jurisdiction problems, and we could just prosecute. That's your solution. Prosecute in jail. Never in any of these stories do I hear politicians, police, any fucking body really trying to get to the root of the problem. And you hear that most notably when they're talking about juvenile crime and youth crime. But I'm not going to even go down there tonight because I got evidence of the flammery. Well, if you don't mind, could you please pop up the article from Forbes? Because Forbes shared with us that the National Retail Federation, admittedly, might be full of shit. Hold on. I just had the article and I think I just closed it on myself because that is what goofy people have a tendency to do. So hold on. We got the Forbes piece up. Yep. And did it say, it turns out the headline, National Federation, Retail Federation full of shit. No, that's not what the headline actually says. It says the National Retail Federation retracts its stats amid theft war of words. And this is actually an interesting piece. Let me credit this the author of this Forbes piece. His name is Mark Faithful. That's an interesting name. So it turns out that the National Retail Federation overstated the theft numbers for the year 2021. The National Retail Federation issued a survey to its members, businesses, local retailer outlets, national retail chains, etc. And it turns out that in the year 2021, 94.5 billion, no, yes, yes, 94.5 billion was lost by retailers that year. And out of that 94.5 billion, it was alleged in front of this congressional hearing that half of that was attributable to organized crime rings, right? But it turns out that the National Retail Federation said that that figure that was previously cited was taken from congressional testimony from Ben Duggan, who is the former president of the group called the Coalition of Law Enforcement in Retail. And that an analysis from K2 Integrity, which is a risk consultancy firm that co-authored the report, inferred that, oh my gosh, Bagheera's out here panning, inferred that nearly half claim that nearly half of all retail theft was committed by organized crime rings. Okay. And that they have now acknowledged that that statistic was wrong. However, the National Retail Federation, that is, when they claim that they got the stat from this dude, from the former president of the Council of Law Enforcement and Retail, and he got it from a risk consultancy firm. Basically, what they're saying is that that number was based on the claim that half of the 94.5 billion in retail theft was done by organized crime, theft rings. It's not based on anything, and it's not accurate. Now, what's interesting is that even in this Forbes piece, which gets pretty detailed, what it doesn't realize or reveal to us is what the actual percentage of organized retail theft ring crimes were in 2021. So if the lie was it was nearly half, and now they're saying that that number is incorrect, but they're not telling us what the actual accurate number is. We can only deduce that all these motherfuckers is full of shit. Okay, and to be clear, retail sales annually top over $1 trillion. Okay, so even if the retail industry is suffering $100 billion in loss, that's about 1%, 1.25%. That's not a huge majority, not even a slight sliver, not even 10% of their overall profits, right? Like retail is still doing pretty good in spite of these organized retail crime rings. So, what the fuck are we really talking about, right? What we're talking about is a couple of things. Outright corporate greed, right? It's not enough that trillions of dollars of sales in the retail industry happen annually, and that 1% of their overall inventory each year is lost to what the industry calls shrink. You ever worked in retail? If you've ever worked in retail, then that term sounds familiar to you. Shrink. And to be clear, shrink includes several things. It includes not only organized retail theft crime rings, but it includes regular ass shoplifting. It includes inventory or stock that might be damaged in transit, that could be lost in the cargo. Like the shrink encompasses more than just people stealing, right? And even accounting for all these different ways in which inventory is lost in the retail business, it only comes up to about 1.25%, 1.5%, right? Of their overall sales and profits. I understand sales and profits are different things, but do you understand what I'm saying? It's a minuscule amount. So for an industry to lose 1% of their profits requires federal intervention. Like it requires a creation of a new unit within the Department of Homeland Security. It requires people and politicians like Mayor Muriel Bowser, like state legislatures in both Arizona, California. Tell me if they're talking about this where you live too, right? I'm sure the breathlessness hysteria around retail theft is a national it's a national freak out. Let the media tell it, let the law enforcement tell it, let the retailers tell it. But to be honest, these people are not losing any more than they have lost historically, right? Like more is not getting stolen now than it was pre-pandemic by and large. Maybe in some instances, the National Retail Federation actually says that the places doing the most stealing. Well, I'm sorry, maybe that I think that was a different survey, but I think it was cited by the National Retail Federation. My apologies for not being clear on that. However, a study was conducted, um, giving the top 20 or so cities in the U.S. in which retail theft occurs at the highest rates. Can you guys take a guess which city is out here doing the most stealing? If you guessed New York City, you would be right. If you thought New Yorkers was not boosting their motherfucking ass off out here, they are. In fact, I gotta find it, but anyway, the study in which cited that says that when you exclude New York from this particular survey, the retail thefts nationwide are not actually all that high. It just seems as though New York is doing the most stealing out here. So tip of the hat to, to the boosting ass New Yorkers. And a special fuck you and middle finger going out to the National Retail Federation. But although in some instances, I kind of gotta rate it, right? If you think that in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill, that it is the representatives that have been elected there represent the people. They don't. They represent business interests. And that is perfectly been made clear to us over and over again. Do you guys remember during the pandemic, when the recommendation was that after a positive COVID diagnosis, that people stay out of work for 10 days because, contagious and shit. And then the airline CEOs went to Congress and said that 10 day mandatory, can't interact with people, can't go to work. That's too much. Can we cut that down to 5 days? And Congress said, sure. Yes. We will get our health experts right on rewriting that piece of policy to accommodate the business interests of this country. And what the National Retail Federation, with their accomplices being the law enforcement, is what they're doing is brilliant here. They're telling our leaders, and all the leaders are listening at the local, state, and now federal levels. Hey, we're losing 1% of our business. Can y'all do something about this? Yeah. I know we brought in $1 trillion, but that 100 billion, that shit hurts. We want all of ours. We're not happy with 98.2%. We need it all. So we need y'all to draft some new laws. We need y'all to create new resources for law enforcement to put people in jail, even though people are out here hungry and desperate, which is the likely reason that they are even getting so innovative, perhaps in these organized retail theft crime rings. Like, is it people's fault that they have to be smarter at circumventing the law in order to survive and eat? Like, it's people's fault that they gotta crime better. Crime, by the way, again, crime is subjective. It's a subjective term, and trust me, the elites, the powerful, and the wealthy determine what is crime. These motherfuckers steal from us all the goddamn time. You know what? The thing that they stole from us that really pissed me off? They stole all of our clean water. They stole all of our clean air. They stole all of our clean soil. They stole it. In addition to the land that they stole from everybody, in addition to our labor, which they steal from us all the time. These motherfuckers steal from us all the time, and we can't even take back 1% back. Because when we take back the 1%, oh, motherfuckers like Glenn Ivy dust off their cop uniform and was like, you know what? My hungry constituents that are engaging in these survival behaviors, yeah, we got to put them motherfuckers in jail. You know what I'm saying? It's easier to solve the problems of business than it is to solve the problems of people. And Congress is more willing and seemingly able to get right on the problems of business rather than the problems of the public. By the way, even though that bill had a number of co-sponsors, the National Stop Motherfuckers from Stealing bill, it was not going to pass the session. It is likely to be reintroduced when the new Congress is sworn in January. And trust me, I encourage you all to please call your Congress people. I have been meaning to call Glenn Ivy for a couple weeks now, but other shit has come up. But I'm going to give his office a call. And I'm gonna be like, I didn't vote for you. and you are showing the reasons why. I didn't vote for you. And for the people that did vote for you, I thought they were voting for a congressman, not a fucking prosecutor. And now your role has changed. Your job is not to put people in jail, Glenn Ivy. Your job is to help people, not help businesses. And I get it. Yeah, there are some small Black-owned or minority-owned businesses that are getting hit out here, and that is unfortunate. And it is a shame. But don't take it as the green light to rev up the carceral system, to rev up and further embolden the carceral state. Don't do that. Use it as an opportunity to try to get to the root of these societal problems. Why are these so-called survival crimes occurring at what y'all think is a higher rate, but it's actually not? In fact, more than likely, the perceived reason why these crimes seem to be up is because they're just being sensationalized more, right? There's more CCTV of it. And when the people, politicians and the like, cite that, store employees and regular people, customers are getting hurt during the course of these organized crime, thieving incidents, to me, that's because motherfuckers is trying to play hero over shit that don't belong to them. It's Mr. Security Man. I suggest you step out the way. I suggest you move. Regular old citizen, good guy with a gun or whoever the fuck, get out the goddamn way. This ain't your shit. Stop trying to play hero and cop over some shit that's not your shit, and you won't get hurt. But in conclusion, if the National Retail Federation themselves is willing to own up to the fact that in 2021 they cited faulty and misleading statistics surrounding the extent of actual organized retail theft crime, how were any other statistics that they cite supposed to be believed or credible, especially when they don't give the corrected percentage? If it's not nearly half of the retail thefts that occurred in 2021, then what's the number? I'm gonna tell you really quick where I heard the story was mentioned. It was mentioned as a blurb on Fox 5. And when I say blurb, I mean that Fox 5 gave that shit 10 whole fucking seconds. Okay. They gave it 10 whole seconds, which I thought was kind of telling. Consider how Fox 5 and the rest of these local news media outlets, again, they cover these retail thefts as if the fucking sky is falling, right? So I'm thinking, well, maybe y'all should have gave a few more seconds to the fact that the National Retail Federation has been leading y'all by the nose, and is giving y'all faulty information. But what I heard cited in Fox 5, and that's why I was very disappointed I could not find this in print. And maybe you guys can find it and tell somebody. But the number I thought I heard Fox cite, the corrected number, if it's not, it was not nearly half of the retail thefts in 2021. The number I thought I heard reported on Fox 5 was 5%. It was actually 5%. And I'm trying to caveat that by, I'm just telling y'all that because that's what I thought that I heard. But I couldn't find that stat repeated in print. And the fact that it wasn't repeated in the Forbes article, nor was it repeated on the National Retail Federation's website, they did not offer what the corrected percentage was. And I thought, again, that was pretty telling. So that's why I'm thinking I probably heard correctly that 5% number as reported on television, because I can't seem to find it repeated in print. So anyway, y'all, the organized retail theft scourge epidemic, absolute bullshit. Absolute bullshit. It is just another reason, further excuses to allow the police to engage in brutality. Don't forget, here in the DC area, my deepest apologies that this man's name is blanking on me right now, but in Fairfax County, there is a police officer that is going to be tried for the murder of a 37-year-old black man who was accused of stealing sunglasses from Tyson's Corner Mall. He was completely unarmed and the cops shot him dead anyway. So when the police are emboldened with these new laws that value property over people, more people are going to be killed by law enforcement during the course of these thefts. And if they're not killed, well, they're going to be facing stiffer penalties, possibly on the federal level. Funny how that works. The more times get desperate, there seems to be a more urgent need to fill the jails. It's funny how that works.